I'm very happy that we're joining forces.
I heard about this thing called Bitcoin and crypto.
It's not the money, it's when you can feel or you can see the impact that this technology can have.
It's exciting because we believe in what we're doing. Kind of gives you hope. It's a hopeful solution and it's a hopeful society that there's so many people that want to do good in the world.
We're a company that's trying to add value to you and to show you the future that we can build together.
We're focused on how can we use this to create a better world.
So welcome to Meet the Founders. I'm here today with Cristina Fidel, my sister and co-founder. And we're gonna talk a little bit about how we got here and the main reason that we decided to start Wink and to embark on this journey for the next years to come. So welcome, Cristina.
Thank you.
I would love to give a little intro about Cristina. So can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you even got here?
Yeah, so my background is mainly in communications. I studied film and television in school. I worked in entertainment for a little bit after college and then in marketing and ad tech for a bit as well. And every job I had, I kind of reached a point where I realized this isn't my passion, you know? That's the millennial in me kind of trying to find what my passion is. And I had quit my job and did kind of a sabbatical where I went on like this big Europe trip. I went to the rainforest. Like I did some really cool trips to kind of try to like reset and see what my next moves would be. And you were also thinking of moving to Europe at the same time. And for context, we've always had a very, very close relationship, very loving relationship, but our paths had never been aligned like professionally in any way. So if you were to have told me a year ago that we would be working together, I would, well, I guess 2 years ago now, I would have told you like, what? That makes no sense. Like what I do and what you do are completely different. But yeah, when I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I started making these TikToks for fun because I had so much free time. So I would make like a bunch of random videos about like travel or lifestyle or whatever it might be. And a few of them did really well. They went like viral, some of them. So you were also making content in the past with your TikTok and like crypto educational content. And you came to me and you said, hey, like it'd be really cool if like now that you have some free time, you help me kind of scale up this content creation thing with crypto education content. So we kind of started working together on that and immediately realized like, wow, we work really well together. I don't know if it's because we grew up in the same house and like the skills and mindset I have, you kind of did the opposite and like we did the yin yang thing because I'm the older sister and you're the younger brother, but we just complement really, really well. So yeah, and then you have always obviously wanted to start your own company. You have a very entrepreneurial spirit and then you realize like, no, like we're a dream team. Like let's build something from the ground up. So that's kind of how it all came to be. Very kind of unexpected, but I'm happy and excited, and it just feels right. We both kind of had that gut feeling that like working together feels right. That's kind of what started it all. So that's why I'm here.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's good context to add that we never even thought about this until maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, where we decided to just kind of like work together and figure it out. And
not at all. I was in my like LA bubble in the communications world. Very kind of, I wouldn't say totally financially illiterate, just because of where we grew up with our dad, who's very like immigrant mentality kind of ingrained in us, certain topics from a young age, but definitely not my area of expertise or interest at all. So yeah, it was a plot twist for sure.
Yeah, it's always been interesting to me how, even though you haven't been, you weren't always in the crypto space. You weren't like, like on Twitter, Reddit, wherever it was. Anytime I talked to you about it, you were like, I don't know everything you're telling me, but I feel like this is the way to go, so let's do it. And I mean, back in the day, it was just kind of like investing your money in it. Whatever, it was college, so we didn't have that much, but still, like even just deciding, hey, you know what I have, I'm gonna put into this. And I think that in itself is what I would consider your initial phase into this whole space, because I think it's something that most people feel. They feel like this change is happening, but a lot of people think they need to understand so much more to kind of be a part of it. And I think you've been a part of it since since I've been a part of it in your own way, right? In
I
the
mean,
way that
all thanks to you. Like, I have to
no,
give you full credit because I vividly remember. I vividly remember this conversation we had back in 2017. We got a little money from a family member that passed away, and you said, Christy, like, I heard about, or like, I've been learning about this thing called Bitcoin and crypto, and I think you should put half of this amount and like invest it. And you explained, you gave me more context, but immediately for some reason I was just like, okay, yeah, like I fully believed you and it fully resonated with me. And I've never, even though I hadn't, up from 2017 up until when we started working together, I hadn't really dove in so deeply into educating myself. I never wavered in my faith. Even when the volatility of the price went up and down, I always felt that this was the future. And I don't know if it's because I'm around you a lot and kind of taken your perspective, but yeah, it's always resonated with me. So it's been cool to learn more and to now work in this industry.
I always found it interesting because for me, the kind of, let's say, participant or holder or investor or whatever that was part of this space, that you represented kind of like this ideal person or someone who gets involved in a way where like, I'm not gonna like be all day into this, but I know that I want to have a piece of this and I want to just partake in this. And I always remember also kind of us talking about this, that a lot of the times people feel like they need to do too much. And sometimes all you need to do is just hold or buy. It's the simpler, the better. And kind of the less you really look into it and the more you just believe in a long-term trend that's happening and you just kind of like, don't worry about it. It's kind of like a more enjoyable journey there, which I think you've kind of been a part of that. And now that you're more involved, like 100%, all in, like you're more in the day-to-day, you're kind of realizing like a lot of the friction or a lot of the things, the drama that goes around when it comes to something so new starting off, right? Like because it seems easy when you see things like, yeah, you just put money into something and you wait. And no, this industry is still in its birth.
Yeah.
And I think you're kind of getting a taste of like all of the doubts that people have and how the sentiment really shifts. And us now, we're going from more of an investor mindset to a builder mindset. And I think it's such a different perspective to be in, because when you're investing, it's just a matter of like putting your money in, things go up, things go down, you gotta have conviction, you hold. And then with building, we're now in a phase where we have to, kind of put our time, our energy, our money, we're putting everything on the line. And a lot of these sentiment shifts really kind of, they don't get to you a lot of the times, but it's a little tough too, So I'm interested in your take in this, and how it's been so far in your journey of kind of deciding to go all in on building in this next future that we want to see, right? This next generation of money. Like, how do you see this? And how have you felt so far with making that decision?
So to be completely transparent, super scared at the beginning. It's not an area that I knew or know still to this day. I'm still learning a lot about. But in going to a lot of conferences and in getting more of a bird's eye view as to the industry, people building in the industry, meeting a lot of really cool people that are doing amazing things, you realize, and that's something you told me early on, nobody really knows like what's going to happen. Everyone's figuring it out as they go, and that helped me a lot because I had a lot of imposter syndrome as to who am I to be building something in the crypto space. You realize that even the smartest minds, they don't know the outcome. Everyone's figuring it out as they go. And I think that it's been cool to kind of mix maybe my perspective as someone who's more of like a normie and not your typical crypto enthusiast, and obviously your passion and your expertise in that world, and we kind of like are humanizing it. That's kind of what we want to do, right? We want to humanize it. We understand that there's been so much breakthrough at a technological level. The technology is way better than what already exists, but there still needs to be that breakthrough in a user experience level. And that's mainly why we're building what we're building. In order for this to be adopted into society, it needs to be accessible for everybody, and it can't just be for the specific niche of crypto nerds online or people who are super techie. It needs to be for all. And I think that's something really powerful in what we're doing.
Yeah, and I also, even to add to that, I think a lot of the times we feel like we need to be like this expert and know more than everyone else to have the right to actually, speak from authority or to even build or to even, go after this dream, right? This goal, or like building this future that we want to see. And I think it's a great exercise, and it's a great decision, because you feel that way, and even I feel that way. I don't feel like I don't know more than most people that I see online. I just kind of educated myself just like anyone could. I've just put in the hours. I mean, I've been in this 8 years. And even then, you know that you're not like an expert, because this is something that's still developing and it's still changing. But I think what we both felt was, hey, you know what? We're going to lean into our strengths. We believe in this future that's happening and that's coming. We want to help shape and build that future in the way that we want to see it, which is more optimistic, which is something that, you know, is working for you and not against you. And obviously a lot of the ideals that Bitcoin has, and, you know, a lot of these decentralized currencies, which, not to get into technical stuff, it's just a reality that we want to build and we want to see, is something we're working for. And I also find it interesting how you and I both have that more of like that normie approach. Because if I were to go to a lot of these conferences, like we have, you know, we always feel like, well, you know what, we're not the smartest people here. Like, we don't know all about blockchain and everything. Like, we know enough to know that this is the future. And we also know enough that we have certain strengths that other people don't.
Totally.
And what we want to bring to the table is, hey, you know what, infrastructure level, like technologically, like you said, this is so much better than the system that exists today. We can recognize it, and we know that. But what we know is that the reason it's not mainstream, and the reason that most people don't use it yet, is actually because at a social level, or at a like usability level, it's still not there yet, right? Like, it's just like very techie, very geeky, like internet in the 90s, right? Like, people still didn't know the depth and the reach. And I think one of the things that we want to do is expand those possibilities, right? Like, show people via how much value we can add to them why this is the future, and build around that, right? So I think we are both kind of leaning into this in a way where we recognize we are not the most like tech infrastructure company. We're a company that's trying to make things easier for you. We're a company that's trying to add value to you and to show you the future that we can build together.
Totally. And the use case, right? We're not focused on the behind the scenes. There's people who are way smarter than us that are doing that. We're focused on how can we use this to create a better world? And that's something we're both passionate about. We both come from immigrant families. We're half Venezuelan, half Lebanese. And it just so happens that both of those countries that we're from have really been hurt financially, and we've seen their currencies be devalued completely. So it's not a coincidence that for some reason that's kind of why it clicked for me and clicked for you. So yeah, there's something you always talk about that I don't know if you want to expand on a little bit more, which is sometimes you don't really get this technology until you need it. You say it better than I do, but
no, I think just the fact, I'm very proud, because the fact that you're even mentioning that is I think
I've learned well. I've learned from the best.
But I think one of the things most people don't realize, especially, is that this happens everywhere in the world. It's not just in Venezuela or in Lebanon or in Argentina. It's Nigeria, it's Syria, it's Zimbabwe, it's every single country in the world. What most people don't understand is that this is a problem that doesn't just happen in Venezuela. And the reason I learned, and maybe we learned about it, was we're half Venezuelan, half Lebanese. So at first, when it happened in Venezuela, I thought, okay, well, you know, it's the politicians, it's the country, you know, it's a developing country, blah, blah, blah. Then it happens in another country that you're very close to, and you're like, wait, this is happening in many countries. And then you see Argentina, and then you see Zimbabwe, then you see Syria, then you see Turkey. And then you're just realizing, wait, maybe in the US, we're also like our money's buying us less and less. And when you take the time to look into how the system works, you start realizing, well, hey, this is literally happening everywhere in the world. It's just happening at a faster pace in different places. So I think what we learned is, you know what, the system is flawed in a certain way, but we have a solution to fix it. And that's where we see Bitcoin as a solution to that. There can be many solutions, but we see Bitcoin as a solution to that. Mm-hmm. And I think what we're building is we say, hey, look, I think Bitcoin is a solution to that, but it's not there yet. It doesn't work for everyone yet.
Yep.
You know, like this technology is already much better than the one that exists today. But how can we build the tools and build around this for any single person in any part of the world that can just have a smartphone and internet connection to really be able to opt out of this problem that we see, right? So I think part of the reason that some countries see it and some don't is, like you said, the idea that you only see Bitcoin's real value when you understand that it's actually a solution to a real problem, if you don't feel that problem, then you're not really gonna really grasp it. You're gonna start comparing Bitcoin to Visa, MasterCard, or, oh, I can spend money with my Apple Pay. Why would I care about Bitcoin if I can spend money on my Apple Pay? But you start digging deeper and you realize, well, why has your rent gone up from $2,000 a month to $3,000 a month? Or why does the cost of a shirt go up from $10 to $20? Is it because that's worth more, or because your currency is worth less? That's a system that's working against you, not for you.
And I can speak for being in a complete bubble. Like, I was in a bubble where I didn't even realize there was a problem. I had no idea that the money we print isn't backed by anything. All these terms and topics that, like, you speak a lot about. Someone like me and in the world that I was in, and you just are in a bubble. You don't realize that this is going on behind the scenes. And I feel like this year I really kind of like, bloop, like, I'm out of the bubble, and it's crazy to see, because there's so many, you could talk about so many problems in the world, so many social issues, but if the money is broken, that is kind of like the overarching theme that trickles down everywhere else.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point you make.
Yeah, and it's also adding a note, like, we are very optimistic on the future of money, the future of the next generations, and all we're trying to do is help shape that future in a way that we want to see it, that we see as bright, that we see as optimistic, that we see as one that works for you, not against you, and it helps you reach your goals quicker or better than maybe today you do. And I think it's important to tie that note of positivity and optimism, because it's very easy to fall into the doom and gloom and, like, the world's going to shit and whatever, it's like bad things are happening. It's like, no, look, we understand that there's these problems. Of course, it hasn't been great, especially for a lot of people, but we see this technology as optimism, and that's actually one of the driving forces of what we're building. Is based on this optimism we see for the future. How can we help shepherd that, right? How can we help lead that into that way that we really want to see it? So I'm very happy that we're joining forces to even do this, because, like you said in the beginning, we each have different skill sets that I think complement this project in a way that we can really drive real change and make real progress in this. And I have to add a little context on how I even got here, right? Because I think it's important for people to understand, like, you don't need to be some computer scientist to end up, finding ways or looking for ways to really shape the future, especially technologically, right? And something that was part of my context or my history with how I even got into this space, it was mostly because in 2017, I've always been interested in finance and investing. And for me, it was always a function of, well, how can I make more money, right? Like, how can I enrich myself? That's kind of like the mindset you carry. I was 15, I was very into,
especially
like,
when you're younger. I think a lot of young people, and especially a lot of men, kind of, that's their first little intro to crypto or Bitcoin or all these terms. They just want to make money, right? That's,
Yes, I mean, when I was 15, I didn't learn about Bitcoin. I was learning about finance, but it wasn't until college that I actually was learning about trading and things like that. And I see Bitcoin's at all-time highs. It's at $2,000. I'm like, what is Bitcoin, and why is someone paying $2,000 for a fake digital coin? Like, that just makes no sense. But it wasn't until I dug deeper, right then and there, that I was like, wait, maybe there's something here. And then that's when we were talking about everything. And then I started applying for startups in the crypto space. I thought it was cool. I joined Telcoin. I worked there for 2.5 years, part-time. They flew me out to Tokyo. I kind of dove deeper into the space, understanding that, wait, this is a huge revolution. This is a huge change that's happening. We're early, but it's happening. And it wasn't until 2020 that I stopped working there and I started my own fund. I always tried to look for ways to, how can I add value, right? Like, this is happening. How can we make the most or squeeze the most out of this opportunity? And at one point it was Telcoin. Then it was starting a fund and, like, raising money from high net worth Latin Americans and kind of allowing people in other markets that didn't really see this opportunity to have a piece of it. And that worked out really well. But I think I always knew that this is for much more than just enriching some people or making some money out of it. I think that's such an important why we're doing this. This is an important why to why we're doing this. This is, of course, you can make money, but we're not in it to make money. We're in it to build this future that we want to see, because it's looking bright and it's looking hopeful.
Absolutely.
And that's also a reason why I started making content. That you even pushed me to start posting on TikTok. I was like, who uses TikTok? Like, that's such a, Gen Z thing, whatever. And like the irony is like I'm half Gen Z, half millennial. I don't know. I'm in the
Yeah.
cusp. But what's interesting is like when I started posting content about it, it was actually during like kind of like the bear market, and I started realizing, wait, like there's actually a big crowd of people who are interested in this space. They kind of want to get involved, but there's not enough resources for them. Like it's still a little clunky. Like I started realizing it wasn't until I did that for a year that I started realizing, wait, there has to be better solutions. And I think that's when we started working together and saying, look, I think there's a lot of change. We see the next 100 million people, the next billion people adopting this, but we're not there yet. We thought it was a function of education, even though we think there's a lot to improve. But I think that's where we ended up with Wink, where we realized, you know what, like there is a problem that we saw from making content, from like interacting with hundreds of thousands of people online. And you think, okay, there is a value we can add by being people who, aren't the most techie, but we do understand what the normal people need and what they want and what this next generation could look for in adopting this as their future finance, their future of money, their future of banking, right? I think that's an interesting way around how we got back to where we are now.
Yeah, totally. You said it perfectly. And I also want to mention as your sister and also now co-founder, like the passion that you have for this and your mission as to why you've always wanted to build something. You could have very easily just done the investment side and just use this as a way for you to keep growing your wealth and make money. Yeah. But you genuinely believe in the impact this is going to have on the world, and that's what drives you. The money does not drive you. You could have gone down that path, and you chose to also embark on building something from the ground up. And I think that that's a beautiful thing, and that's why you're CEO of the company. That's why you carry the mission. You have a lot of heart and passion as to why you do what you do, and that's been beautiful to see and to work with, because it opens my mind and makes me want to push even harder for this ethos that we have.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I think one of the biggest motivators is, like you said, it's not the money. It's when you can feel or you can see the impact that this technology can have on everyone in the world, especially the next generation, because we want to push forward this change that we want to see in the world. And a lot of times, new change requires a new generation, a new generation that doesn't have these preconceived thoughts or limitations that can actually push forward some real positive change. And I have to give a disclaimer that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. Like we're just continuing a lot of the work that so many people in this space have done. Like just starting from Satoshi, who created Bitcoin, and everyone thereafter. Like it's a marathon. It's not a race, and we're just kind of right now just kind of taking the baton, and we're trying to run forward. And of course, there's so many other great builders. There's so many great companies doing great things right now. And I think that's one of the beauties of Wink and the platform that we're trying to build, or that we're building, is that we're actually complementing with each other. We're all trying to rise the tide, right? We're not just trying to take over. And that's one of the beautiful things about this industry, where we're not trying to be better than someone else. We're trying to become something that hasn't existed yet. Absolutely. And we're trying to rise all the tides. We're trying to bring everyone up together because we all share this mission. I haven't seen an industry that's as mission oriented. And what you mentioned about me having a passion for this, like I can mention 100 other people in the space who have this same passion, and that's why this is going to succeed, because we are all driven not only by money, but by this future that we want to see, and we want to build it, and we want to create this hope, because that's what this means for us. It's hope.
Totally. And you see it firsthand when you go to these conferences and you see all of these builders that they could easily retire with the money they have, but they have a passion to push this forward, and they believe in the bigger mission behind it all, and that kind of gives you hope. It's a hopeful solution, and it's a hopeful society, that there's so many people that want to do good in the world and that want to improve the system that we already have.
Yeah, and I think it's important to even mention a difference between what we're trying to build and what a lot of builders are doing, and what's happening with the whole meme coin space. Like there's a lot of bad actors in any industry.
Yeah.
Just this one makes it really easy for bad actors to take advantage of other people, especially people who don't know much or who want to make a lot of money, who want to get rich quick. So I think it's important to make that distinction, because I think one of the things we want to do as well is kind of highlight one of the most important technological advancements of our time, but also mark a separation between some of the biggest scams we've seen in our lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of the biggest frauds we've seen in our lives. And it's such a hard distinction when most people just kind of see this all as one thing. And I think that's one of our goals as well, is to be able to really highlight all the positive change that this can bring, and not only tell you about it, but show you, right? And that's, I think, the force that's pushing us forward. It's this, we want to live by example. We want to show you and allow you to feel how this can improve your life, not just tell you about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're excited to keep improving,
Yeah.
keep building, and also build in the open.
Yeah.
It's
Build in the
exciting
open.
because we believe in what we're doing, and we want to build in the open and get feedback, iterate, improve, and yeah, create something meaningful that
We're
we're
excited.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
so excited you decided to join for the ride, and we decided to do this together, and couldn't ask for a better co-founder and sister.
I know. Love you.
Love you too.